natives. And I have to define what my definition of natives is. So many folks come to the area, new from the Midwest or California, and they want us to water them in their yard, and you can't have those up here. They freeze, it gets too cold. We are not a low desert landscape. We're a high desert, if you can even define it that way. We are a pine forest, juniper forest, grassland, chaparral area. That's what we truly, truly are. You got to figure out what you are, and you can have any of those in your yard simply by tweaking the drip irrigation. You can make it a more meadowy, grasslandy kind of thing, or you can make it more of a junipery, evergreeny kind of thing. You can decide what that theme or that design wants to be, and you can have some color in there. It doesn't have to just be cactus and yucca, which some folks, we have a little bit of I call it Scottsdale envy. Everyone wants to have that Scottsdale landscape up here, which doesn't grow up here. None of it grows up here. So they go, I want cactus. How many you got? I want to see your cactus department. Well, we only grow about five cactus, and they're all variations of prickly pear. We do have quite a few agaves, which is kind of leans into that. We have a lot of yuccas. This is natural yucca country. From banana, they just grow wild. Banana yuccas, red yuccas. We'll go over some of that and why they do well. But here, I call it Western natives. And we have a design flair that I call it the Oasis approach. We go with high color, high fashion, almost more maintenance, close to the house, where you're entertaining, you're having the coffee, you're watching the sunset. That's where you have your containers, your pots, your big flower, your flowering stuff. As you progress out into the landscape, we feather it back into the native landscapes. That's kind of what I call the Oasis approach to landscaping. It's a good way to think through your landscape. You can have some color, and I've put together a few collections that are by no means you're honed into just these, but I've put together some things that kind of go together and look good, be on that same water cycle, and do very, very well for you. Okay? So for this gardener, I'm a hardcore gardener. I love gardening. My front yard is high maintenance. Lots of flowers. I want to go touch the flowers. It's a few hundred square feet where I can go and have my therapy session in my gardens and deadhead flowers with my coffee cup in hand. It just makes me feel better before I go and deal with the public all day long. And so it just helps me. It's got a little courtyard, got privacy, it's got a little water feature there. The backyard is where we do most of our entertaining. That is the grills, spas, the big patios, lots of entertainment, umbrellas, where it's all back there. Everything you can think of is back there. It's made to throw a party of 20, 30, 40, 50 people. It's made to go. I do not want to be a slave to the landscape back there. It must look good at all times. Not high color, but it must look good at all times and be ready to go for a party in a flash. We could go over right now and look good. I haven't been back there and doing anything to the yard for a month and a half. But it always looks good. It's done with mainly natives because I don't want to water it. I trim it back once a year. I might go deadhead if there's a big party going on. I might just clean things up real quick and spend an hour and it's done. That's the backyard. So it's a half-acre lot. So most of the yard is in the back. The front is for me. And I think it's okay to have, for the gardener, the hardcore gardeners, it's okay to have your vegetables. That's gardeners, some folks like that. I tend to be a flower gardener. I love flowers. Fragrance, I love dahlias, iris, all the flowery stuff I like. When you come over to our house, you see lots and lots of color, but it's very strategic on where it's at, and it's on its own separate drip system. So I can maintain that more. I've separated that piece out so I can hone that irrigation just for those flowers, those pots. Mainly it's containers, a couple raised beds, and the rest of it's in the ground and pretty much very low care, low water. Okay. Right now, my systems, I just cut the irrigation clocks back. I've got one clock for the backyard, one clock for the front yard, and I have it broken down into 3 segments, basically. I've got trees and shrubs on one irrigation valve. I've got in-ground flowers, perennial stuff, things that were smaller root, where I really want to abuse them, but not that much. I have them on a separate system. They're in the same trench. and then my containers are all in their own separate irrigation system. So the front yard's got 3 valves, and the backyard's got 3 valves. And so it's trees and shrubs, flowering, foo-foo stuff, we'll show what those are, and then my container garden's high maintenance, the vegetable garden's on just an extension of the flower pots, because they need about the same regularity of water needs, okay? So I just cut all those things back because we've had a lot of rain. It's been hot, but there's been a lot of moisture. So at my house, we've had an inch of rain. It was 8.87 before that last rainstorm, so I'm sure it shot us off. I didn't look at it this morning, but I'm sure we're above an inch. And so an inch of rain will sink into the soil 6 inches. If you just keep that ratio in mind, it'll help you a lot. 1 inch of moisture, of rain, of physical, if 1 inch of water is sitting there on the ground, it'll penetrate approximately 6 inches of soil. Now that varies a little bit. If you've got sandy soil, let's say you're out Granite Mountain area, Williamson Valley, you get that loose crushed granite, you might go down 8 inches. If you're out in the ranch, Yavapai Hills, that 69 corridor, heavy clay, you might only go 4 inches. But the book basically says it goes down about 6 inches, and that is about right, okay? So if you want to penetrate a big tree, let's say this maple tree, this can have up to the roots would go down. It's got a pretty strong root system, down 2-3 feet. How much moisture you need to put on the surface to penetrate the entire root mass? So you'll need 3-4 inches of rain or moisture to penetrate the entire root mass. The biggest mistake we make when we put in a native drip system, these guys have very aggressive, very deep, very fibrous root mass. The mistake we make is we water it every day or every other day, a little bit, and then the water only goes down the soil just a few inches. And so we get very shallow rooted plants. Well, that's okay, you can keep them living, but when you come into a drought year where we have a little dry spell, all of a sudden the things will become stressed. You go, oh no, what do? We haven't trained our plants to root deep. So we want to water all of these guys, especially, we want to water them very infrequently and very deeply. So right now I just backed off the backyard. The irrigation clock for trees and shrubs is watering every 10 days. Got the system just coming on every 10 days. It was at every 7, so once a week. Then I just backed off, gone, it's humid enough, I can back that off. And they are luscious. It's not like they're struggling, they're beautiful. You'd come back and go, whoa, this is a native landscape. Wow, this is nice. Things are in bloom. They look like fleshy new foliage. In the front yard where I have less native-y stuff, I'm at every 7 days still. Okay.
How long do you run your system?
How long do I run this system? The trees and shrubs, I think, are on for 120 minutes every 10 days. And really, of course, I need that much to get the water down through the entire root mass. I want very deep-rooted plants, okay? The flowers I'm watering every 7 days, or is it 6 days? I just adjusted that. It wasn't every 5, I just moved it up, I think, every 7 days. And so that'll be things like echinaceas, gaillardias, salvias, and I'll show you what those are, but I've just backed those things off.
And for how long?
There it's, forget, an hour, maybe an hour and a half. I'm using a smaller emitter head. I tell you what, I can put that, I've got an email. What I wanted to give you today was the Yavapai friendly plant list. It's a 4-page list of just all of this stuff. The plants that are the lowest water used. It's a pretty extensive list. And it breaks it down by trees, by shrubs, by vines, by flowers, and I think even annuals. I can't remember the annual piece. But it's a pretty extensive list. It's too big to print and give to you. I'll email that out to you in a PDF, and you'll just be able to print it out. And then I had the drip irrigation. I can also add the how often to water. I've got a water guide that tells you how long and how to set it. It's generic, but at least get it where you're making mistakes in the right direction. So I can go water guide. If you give me your email, I'll send that out to you today or tomorrow or something, and let you have that, and we can cover that easily in just a handout, okay? Let me not go too many questions or I'll get derailed, because I've already been in front of one group this morning. I started at 7, doing another event, And now I'm back with you. I'm not quite with it yet. I've had maybe too much coffee or not enough to eat. Let me just keep tracking, at least get down to where we're into plants and stuff, okay? So I set my clock, trees and shrubs are every 10 days for natives. My flowers are once a week, and my pots are every 3 days. Big pots of flowers. So that's where I'm at. And I'll monitor that, and if I need to, if we have a real dog days of summer can be hot. It can rain, it can still be dry. I'll monitor that. I'm quick to change my clocks. I change them probably every 6 to 8 weeks. I'm really familiar with irrigation clocks. I like it. It's basically a computer. I'm kind of a nerd. I have the latest cell phone. I got the latest desktop. I got the latest. And I have the latest in clocks with moisture meters, rain gauges, all of this kind of stuff. I like clocks. I think if you don't like clocks that much, which are a little intimidating, you should at least get familiar enough where you can adjust the frequency at which you're setting, the clock is going off. The time you don't play with. You figure out how much water a plant needs to thoroughly water the entire root mass. Once you figure that piece of the equation out, you never change that. It's always the same. So if it takes 2 hours for me to water my trees and shrubs in the backyard, it always takes that much water to water it thoroughly. Now it comes down to the only equation you need to come up with is how frequent should I water this thing? So I don't water it by every Monday and Wednesday. It's got a skip day function. Most clocks have a skip day. So you can go, I want to skip 7 days before it waters again, or skip 5 days. I really only play with that piece. And I'll just go and adjust that one piece of the clock, and I'll do it for zone A, B, and C. Just I broke it down. So it really simplifies. We have an entire class in the spring on how to do that. We don't want to go into that now, but the nutshell in 60 seconds or less is don't overthink it. Just try to play with skip days, get the water amount right up front, and then only play with how often am I setting that clock. These guys that we're going to go over today, you are going to be prone to overwatering them. That's if you're going to make a mistake, you will kill these by overwatering them because they have a very massive root structure. And if you're planting them out in a clay soil, a lot of you out in the ridge lines, you've got heavy clay with rocks. You folks up in the timber ridge, clay with rocks. The ranch, 69 corridor, clay with caliche, which is a layer of just calcium that just is like cement in the ground. If you're putting them in real heavy soils and you're watering too often, you have to discipline yourself to water less if you're going to go down this path. You have to mentally, especially gardeners, you all have a propensity to love on your plants too much. You overdo it. So these guys won't like that. So just watch that one. Basically, in a nutshell, natives have 3 characteristics. Okay, one is going to be they have small leaves, like this bird of paradise. Now, everyone wants to plant the. I'll just borrow this chair and use it as a platform here. This is bird of paradise. Now, this is the same one that grows down the valley, the Phoenix area. So you folks that have Scottsdale envy, you'll like this one. Because it's the one with that big yellow and red flower to it. Only that one does not winter over up here. There's only one variety that will winter that's hardy enough for the mountain regions, and this is the yellow bird of paradise. It doesn't have any red in it. I know that loses some sex appeal to it, but it's got the same exact flower. Big bird of paradise flowers emerging from it, even right now. Got it. Grasshoppers are bad. Bugs eating your inventory. He was sitting there right there looking at me. That's a dangerous place to be if you own the place. Eating my inventory. He was eating a leaf. Anyway, this guy, very small leaves. You notice it's got rows of very small leaves. Very much a characteristic of drought-hardy plants. They simply reduce the foliage mass, the exposure to the native arid air that we have. And they just go, I won't sweat as much because I don't have as much skin in the game. They just reduce the amount of foliage. So this guy is very drought hardy. I've got several of these in the backyard. Once every 10 days, it's in full bloom, glorious. Okay, that's one indication. Another one is going to be, this is probably the most famous of all the natives. This is a red yucca, but it doesn't have any foliage. at all. All of it's just these stems. It's exposed, it just doesn't have any foliage to expose itself to where it loses any moisture. And the leaves are very, very waxy. So it's actually encased itself in a wax layer, so it almost can't evaporate. It's like surrounding yourself and wrap yourself in cellophane. It'd be the exact same thing. You're gonna overheat, you don't use any moisture. You can't sweat. Well, this guy's the same way. Then it just does this. Basically April through Thanksgiving, it always has blooms. So it's a great little plant for here. This one you will kill if you overwater it. So it's just kind of tough little plant. I think every yard should have one of these at least. It's just such an easy care plant. And then the other one's going to be like this. The most famous, actually these guys are very much related. They're cousins of each other. I just share them at the same time. This is the most famous of the brooms. This one in April was covered in yellow flowers. It was very fragrant. Remember that one? It's been out of bloom for a month or two, but it's just covered in yellow flowers. It can have little tiny insignificant leaves. You hardly see them. All the photosynthesis is done through the stems. So the green it actually creates the sugars just through the stems of the plant. So very, very efficient. This one, you'll probably not even have to put on a drip system. I've had it next to my lawn on a drip system once every 10 days, and it just got too much moisture. I'd actually cut it off, or it would have died. So it's very, very efficient on its water use because it has no exposure to our arid air.
What kind of broom is it?
This is a Spanish broom. This is a Scotch broom. It's a ground cover broom. So it just does this, just spread. Instead of going out like this, it just goes out. Again, same exact plant, but you notice the leaves are tiny, just tiny little leaves. And then it's also got nice green stems. It'll have the same exact flowers, big yellow, or is this one red? Big yellow flowers all over it, very fragrant, and it just has this nice evergreen look to it. That's one indication, small to no leaves. Okay. The other one is going to be foliage that is covered in either a white or a wax or hairs. It takes the leaf and then protects itself by having, this is Santolina. You can see it's just got this silver foliage to it. Many of the plants will have a secretion to it. They'll actually ooze out this protective coating over the foliage so it can't evaporate. That's another indication of I'm really tough and you can abuse me, run over me with a truck, and still this thing will live and bloom. It has beautiful yellow flowers all over it right now in my yard, and it's evergreen. It's a perennial that stays, gets up maybe not quite knee-high, stays low and kind of spreads out. I use this to go from the front yard to the backyard. We got a classic mountain kind of cut out basement area. So we got this steep slope, pretty views. It's just hard to get from the front to the back. Well, I put this as markers going up the steps. So when guests in the backyard where the parties are leave after a beer or two or a glass of wine or something, they don't stumble around. This is real bright in the moonlight. It just radiates in the middle, in the darkness. And so it shines, it's fragrant. The animals don't eat it. It's considered an herb. And so it's got a heavy, another reason this one particularly is so tough, a lot of the herbs have an oil to them. And so the inside has a lot of tannins, just a lot of oils that doesn't evaporate as quickly as, let's say, a moisture, a water oil. Very, very tough plant. This is called Santolina. I don't have lavender cotton, would be a common name. Okay? But you notice lavender is the same way. Lavender's got a green leaf on the top, and on the back side is silver, so it has this almost two-toned look to it. That's lavender, and all the lavenders, whether Spanish, French, English, they're all equally as tough. Very, very drought-hardy kind of plant, and it just does this for an incredibly long time. Very fragrant again, but again, it's got oils within the structure of the plant instead of water, and then it's got this coating to it so it just doesn't perspire as easily as other plants will. It's a very tough little plant. So you're looking for that. We go down to, where's another good example? Oily. Where's an oily plant? I guess this would be something like that. This is a classic. Probably you folks from California know what this is. Pyracantha. You know, you pick the berries as a kid and throw them at each other, as boys we would. It's also noted as fire thorn. It has a thorn on it. Anything with thorns seems to do well in the mountains of Arizona. Well, this one does exceptionally well. The reason this is so tough, very extensive root mass. So it just anchors itself down into the soil, and it's pretty efficient. It's got a large canopy. This guy can get 10 foot tall by equally wide if let go. And then so it shades itself at the root level, and then the leaves are very waxy. So it actually puts off a wax coating around the leaves, so it just doesn't perspire very easily. So this is I would consider this. It's not on most of the drought hardy list, but that's where I vary. I like this plant just because it's so tough. You can't kill it. Birds love it. It's got a bloom in the spring. It's got a berry in the fall. It's got a lot of things going on for it. And you can put it on the same drip system as your sumacs and yuccas and other stuff. It'll do just fine. So, okay. While we're on vining, big vining plants, this is this grows wild in Bradshaw, surrounding mountains. You just see it growing underneath the oaks, mainly under the oaks, some pinyons. This is Virginia creeper. And so it's most famous here. In another month, this will start turning bright. I mean, just brilliant red. I mean, it's like flaming on fire engine kind of red. But it just slowly creeps and covers walls, fences, and you can't kill the thing. Once it gets established, good luck getting rid of it. It's just a tough as nails kind of plant. And it thrives on abuse. So you folks who love to cruise or travel, or this is your second home or investment properties, that kind of stuff where you're just not there to maintain and watch it, this is a great choice. And it's truly a native. It just grows wild. Again, waxy leaf, extensive root mass. Then the foliage covers up the roots, so it almost protects itself. It keeps the sun off of the ground, so the sun can't dry out the soil. So what makes it so tough. This, I would say, I have watering this once a week. It's well established. I can abuse this plant. This is an autumn blaze maple. Maples, because their root mass is so deep, it's not prone to lift foundations, footers, walls, that kind of stuff, because the roots go down, not out and real shallow. If you water this thing correctly and you encourage it to have real deep roots, this plant can be, I think, in that real tough, big shade tree, bright red color, the classic fall, maple color that you want to see. I think this can be defined as medium to even low water use if you train it right. If you train it wrong, all plants are wimpy. You just train them wrong. We don't like shallow people. Why would we want shallow plants? I don't know where that came from. One other thing too, here. The other indication would be, where's my Gaillardia? This is one other. Sycamores are kind of this way. This is a natural, just a native wildflower, perennial. It's called Gaillardia. The name is this Arizona red shades. So it just has a red. Most Gaillardias are orangey to yellow color. It's unusual to see a red, a nice red like this. The reason this is so tough, if you take a close look at the leaf, you'll see hairs coming up from the leaf. The hairs actually keep the wind off of it, protect it from sun, and it keeps animals from eating this, because those hairs get stuck in the javelina's throats. Rabbits don't like it because they have this dry, crusty mouth taste, and they get done. But take a close look at that leaf. I'll pass it around.
Deer as well.
Deer, nothing eats this, and it reseeds like crazy. This is one where you have an embankment. You want flowers kind of tumble down the embankment. Put this at the top. It'll reseed and kind of come up down the hill. I'll leave that for you too. Take a look. So another indication, look for that. Look for hairs, or sometimes, let's say the sycamores, I mentioned that. Like we have a natural Arizona sycamore that grows here. The top of the leaf is green, kind of a green-blue. The bottom of the leaf is a silver color. That's one where it put that secretion on the bottom side of the leaf, so now it's 50%, it's using half the water use, whereas if the leaf was green on both sides, it would perspire from both sides of the leaf. So it's much more efficient in its water use. Okay? So that's what to look for. One thing to watch with your natives, here's a classic yucca. Isn't that pretty? We grow so many different kinds of yuccas. It's just, yuccas do really well here. It's time to fertilize. If you have not fertilized your landscape during the rains, you should. You can get a huge advantage by fertilizing now while the rains are still going. One thing to watch with your natives though when you're fertilizing, you notice how all the foliage comes out and it's collecting the rain. It reaches out and brings all the moisture to the heart of that plant. So that's what a yucca does so well. And then it's got a very big, almost like a huge carrot kind of root that goes down. So it stores up all that moisture right inside this root mass. And so when you're fertilizing these, be careful to not have any fertilizer hit on the foliage because it will bring it right to the center and it'll burn the plant. School of Hard Knocks. My name's Ken. I'm your friend, and I've made a lot of mistakes. So kind of watch that one. Just kind of want to share that one with you. But the reason it does that is because it's so efficient on the rain. It has a way of collecting that and then using it and storing it for later. And it can store quarts of water in just one rain event. It just has a way of pulling this in. Your cacti. You know, I didn't bring any cactus, but basically prickly pears and hedgehogs. That's really the two that we have. There's some jumping cactus or choyas. I've got some of those. I hate to pick them up because they might just bite you. They tend to jump at you, but they're pretty. If you like cactus, you can have that too. The reason those are so efficient, they have no foliage. The needles will actually come out and shade the stems, and then when it rains, it just swells up and it holds all that moisture. It just has a water holding capacity that it can use down the road. Okay, yuccas. Let's cover the last two more on this cart, which are great choices. Agave. Now you folks from Phoenix, you love to have that blue agave, the one they make tequila out of. Great big blue spikes coming out of it. That one does not grow up here. Or extreme borderline. There might be a spot someplace that maybe it would grow in the neighborhood. And you might find that place, but it won't be in your yard. Okay? It doesn't grow up here, so we don't really sell it. Well, a few for the folks out in Baghdad, maybe Cordes Junction, those areas are really 45, 4,000 foot lower, they can start to grow it. But we can't at these higher elevations. But this one grows wild even up in the Mingus, up in the ridge lines. This one grows wild. This is, there's several varieties. Utah, there's a Utah chinensis, Utah variety. There's a artichoke agave. We sell all of those. And this is one, it's also called a century plant. It puts on that huge white flower. You can almost watch it grow by day. Gets up way above head high. That big white flower, that's this one. Okay, so this is a baby. It'll end up being about this big around. Then as it blooms, and it really doesn't take a century to bloom. That's a myth. It takes about 10, 15 years. It will bloom for you. Once that thing blooms, the mother plant dies. So this one would die. But then what you'll find is after you pull that one out, you have lots of pups underneath it. And so from the root zone, it'll actually start rooting out new century plants or agave. Okay, and then usually in the wild, where it falls down, that seed head will now naturally fall 10, 15 feet away. More will start to seed up over there. That's how this particular plant grows and spreads. So agave, again, you can see the foliage all brings all that water, brings it right to the middle. It's got very waxy, very thick leaves, so it's super efficient on its water use, and a big old root to it. One thing to watch, I've had a little bit of problem this year, just myself. This is kind of, you get my story. Most of the things I talk about on the radio, it's whatever I've been doing this week. That's what I talk about. I have gophers have been eating my agave. They've been after that big root mass, so I've had to kill off a couple of them. They start to burrow up underneath, eating the roots. They've not killed the plant because I caught it. I killed them basically before they killed my plant. Underground rodents do deserve to die. Don't let them breed and grow in your yard. Take care of them. Like sidebar meeting, I can show you how to do that. It's not a conversation for polite company though. This is red hot poker, but this is a new variety, only at Waters Garden Center. And so this is a dwarf. So many of your red hot pokers, remember April and May, maybe the first part of June, had these great big red to orange flowers on it. Some of them were yellow, so it had a couple different varieties, but they get up about this tall, and the flower floats above that. This one just gets this tall. Has the same flower, a little bit smaller flower, but it only gets this tall. So now you can introduce this into a flower bed, into a pot, into raised beds, and it won't take over and be too big, but still have that same robust color and hardiness to it. You notice the same trait, big waxy leaves, not exposed very much, big root mass to it. Very, very much a drought-hardy plant. And I don't know why, but javelina and rabbits and the vermin, they don't eat this. It looks like they want to just dine on it all day long, but they seem to leave them alone. So you see them right out there in neighborhoods, exposed, and they just bloom and do very, very well. Red hot poker, a dwarf variety. The name on this is called Pico Rojo. You can look at the tag later. Let's see, we should cover a couple of grasses. Let's do that. So we mentioned some grasses, or things like grass. This is a native grass. It grows in Prescott Valley. Most of the valley areas. This is bear grass. Those grasses, as you drive out 69, you see grasses out there in the cow pastures. That's this one. Mine does have a little white flower on it right now in the yard. So it can bloom not quite like a pampas grass. It's a different flower. It has a big, it's not as feathery, but it covers about right here, big spikes of flowers. Not consistent every year with flowers, but it's kind of a delight when it does bloom. So it seems like it makes up its mind when it wants to bloom. I grow it mainly for this. Thick, waxy leaves. It kind of reminds me of a pampas grass, only this one does not get aggressive, and it's evergreen. You never cut it back to the ground. You just keep it like this, and it always looks like this. So it's a grass you can have in the yard and never have to do anything. That's my kind of plant. Especially in the backyard where we like to entertain. I just want it to always look good. That's where you introduce these things to. So bear grass. Related to that, often I find folks will plant them companion-wise. Now this is one desert spoon. This does grow in the valley. It also grows up here. It seems to grow anywhere. It's just a tough little plant. Sedona's faint. They grow really well over there. They do really well here too. This one is a great one in a courtyard. Where I like to plant this is in a pot in that courtyard, coming into your front yard, let's say Mediterranean or Santa Fe style kind of house. It just has a lot of character to it. It doesn't really bloom. It does have a little flower. You're really growing it for this neat, just different structure. It's got a little needle to it. They're not really pokey, but it's just interesting. It looks like a sawtooth. How did God come up with something like this? Like it's sawtooth foliage. It's just neat. Animals don't eat it. And again, thick, waxy leaves. That's why it is so water efficient. If you kill this, it'll be from overwatering. If you water this more than twice a week, it's going to die. You got to water it once a week, no more than twice, it'll be fine. Desert spoon. Desert spoon.
And that's considered a grass.
I don't know what it's considered a spoon. It's a whole it's not a yucca, it's not a grass, it's something in between. It's a hybrid spoon, S-P-O-O-N. Yeah, there's several different spoons. That's the one that does the best, or is the hardiest for up here, that particular one. These are actual grasses. This is growing wild right now. This is grama grass. It's a short little grass, but it has these seed heads that kind of float up above. The reason I like grasses is because we're in the mountains. And every time a breeze blows, it just adds drama. So I have these up by the front landscape, front yard, and the raised beds up on the street. So when you walk by, it's going, look at me. Look at me. It's like a woman in a pretty dress. There's nothing like it. So it just does that in the landscape. It does that same approach. It adds just a nice feeling of motion into the yard. And it doesn't get any bigger than this. This is full grown. This is as big as it gets. Figure knee high. This one I do have to cut back to the ground every year. So I do take my hedging shears, I just whack it back. Then it comes back, usually in May, start to come back, and then it's in bloom now through the end of the year. Eventually, about January, snows will come most years, and I'll start lighting on this and it'll just kind of fall over. That's my indication, okay, you're now ugly. and that's when I whack it off. Usually January, February, I just whack it off. It's a true perennial grass. This one you could probably water, get it established, and then never water it again. Although you'll probably have more foliage and more seed heads if you fertilize and water it every once in a while. You'll probably have a prettier plant. You can take care of it some. Otherwise, you're on the natural cycles that we have here. You know, the grasses look really good. Actually, all the plants look really good in April and May. June, they all turn brown. And then in July, they start to green back up again. They start to bloom again. You can fill that gap simply by putting around a drip system and spitting on it every once in a while, and it'll just be a fuller, bigger plant. This is one that's not on. This is not on any list you'll find for natives, but I love this grass, and I have it in my backyard, and I treat it just like a native. It does fabulous. I planted this for my dogs. My dogs love to go out and nibble on grass, like dogs and cats. They just like to nibble on things. Well, instead of nibbling on my tomatoes, instead of nibbling on my stuff I don't want you to eat, I just planted some of this. And they do love going out and just chomping on it and having, especially my Labradors, they're basically chocolate. We have a chocolate and a black lab. They're basically a stomach wrapped in fur. They always have to be eating something, and so this is something they love to go eat. This is Coral Forester grass. I think the reason it's so tough, it's got a fibrous root mass, much like a palm tree. It's got lots of hairs that go real deep, and so when I water it, if I water it deep enough and encourage a deep root, I can treat it or put it on the same drip system as my natives, and it does this. The reason I like it, it only gets this tall, doesn't get very big, the foliage is down at hip high, the seed heads start blooming in May, and it'll hold these seed heads, if the dogs don't eat them all, until the end of the year. It's an amazing bloomer, and low maintenance, and if you have animals, they like to eat on it. Now, with that being said, probably, so will the deer, so will the rabbits, so will the other stuff, so kind of watch that one. But in my backyard, it's fenced for the dogs. It doesn't matter. So, and my little black Scotty chases off most of the rabbits, most of the stuff that likes to come back there. They like it so much that I had to plant a few more because they wouldn't let it bloom. They kept eating it so it wouldn't bloom. So now I got 3 of them all planted in a cluster. So they eat the backside and it still blooms. Still looks good. Okay, let's keep going down the list. This is probably lilac and butterfly bush, which is another name for this is called summer lilac. The flower is the same. Lilacs are drought hardy. You can have a lilac, and they do really well here. They do better here than they do in the Midwest. In that, they don't get the diseases. They don't get the leaf spots. They don't get all the stuff that a real humid climate has problems with. They don't grow quite as large here, though. So the typical lilac will be about head high, maybe a little above. Depends on the variety that you plant. I started planting more dwarf things because I don't like watering. I don't like pruning. And so I tend to plant, I'm getting rid of or changing out some of my big models and then putting in dwarfed or pint-sized models just because I never prune them. Or I just shape them a little bit and that's it, but they still bloom. And so all your lilacs and all of your butterfly bush do really well here. And again, a butterfly bush, you'll notice it's got green leaves on the front, silver leaves on the back. Most butterflies are that way. So it's using half the amount of water that, say, a forsythia would use or a rose of Sharon would use. So it's much more efficient on its water use. And it does actually bloom like this all summer long. And butterflies really do like it. It's called butterfly bush for a reason. This is a variety, Miss Ruby, but I think it's a dwarf variety. This only gets 4 feet tall. Can't see real quick, but it just gets hip high. It's a pint size. Some butterfly bush, they're monsters. They get as big as a house. Small dogs, children have been lost in butterfly bush. And so not this guy. It's not going to get this big, it's only going to get this big. So it's less maintenance. It's still equally as hardy. Okay. I don't. This variety, I've got this one. I'll take my head shears and I just shape it real quick in January, February, whenever I'm pruning all the other stuff. I'll get bored, I'm tired of eating cookies and sipping tea inside, and I want to go do something outdoors. So that first nice day in late winter, I'll go out and start shaping it. That's it. My regular size butterfly bush in the backyard, I whack on that sucker. I mean, I take it down by 50%. I mean, it's like this big right now. It's even a little bigger than I want, but I'm looking down at it from the patios and the deck, so it's okay. But I don't want it to get 12, 15 feet tall, where I can't maintain the thing. So every year I just whack it back to about hip high, take my head shears, I'm brutal, it takes me about 60 seconds, done. Okay, that's how I prune. Easy, easy, easy. I like easy. A couple true natives. Let's go hardcore. If you folks are going, no, I want xeriscape. That's all I want. We've got that too. This is rock rose. In the spring, these were spectacular in Prescott Valley. A flower about that big, pink, covered for like 3 months straight, from end of March through May. It was absolutely covered. A shrub about knee-high, kind of ball-shaped, but the leaves are very, very thick and covered in black. It's covered in both sides. What the butterfly bush had on the back side of the leaf, this has on both sides. So it's a small leaf, covered, protected. It can't perspire. This one is really sensitive to overwatering. In fact, we actually have to keep our folks from overwatering things, we have a sign in this particular plant going, do not water. We just water like once a week, even in the bucket. So very, very drought hardy. And I notice the animals do not eat this. It's a tough little true native plant. Stays knee high, 2-3 feet, kind of a little bit wider than it is taller. So it's a low mounding kind of plant. But it's famous in the spring for its pink flowers. So you can take a look at the pink flower tag when you get done. But I had to mention because it's one of the most famous in the spring. This is sage. Anytime you see sage or salvia in a name, you know you got a winner. So again, this is if you rub your hand against this, you'll smell a sagey kind of smell. So lots of sage. This is a native sage. It's called a big sage, big gray sage, or silver sage. It goes by several names. I know it's ugly now because it's a native. I wish I could grow them where they were big and full, but natives want to be in the ground before they get nice and full. They got a taproot, a real long taproot. When you grow them in a bucket, they just don't fill in nicely like they do when they're in the ground. But this will instantly turn into this ginormous gray mound that's just pretty if you like silver or gray color. And I use it as a contrast plant like this with, say, sumac. They make great contrast plants. So the silver with this nice green, this is another wild, this just grows wild. Sumac, anytime you hear the word sumac. Now we do have poison sumac. A lot of folks will go, oh, I don't want sumac, it's poison. There's only one out of like 24 varieties that grow in the state that's poison, and we don't sell that one. You don't want our customers breaking out poison ivy. But this one's Growlow sumac. It only gets, again, about knee high, and then it spreads. I don't even think it's knee high. I think it's 2 feet or 1.5 feet. I use it as a ground cover for erosion control in hillsides that are real tough to get to. That's where I tend to plug a lot of these in. This particular one, famous in the fall because it turns this bright orange and red color. It is deciduous, it'll lose its leaves, but when it does, it is like, it's a showboater. It just loves to show off. It might even be a brighter color than the Virginia creeper, that bright red. This would be a good companion with the oranges, with that red. It just makes, this is as tall as it gets, then it starts going out like this, spreads. So I used a lot of sumacs around my pond. So at the lower elevation, I like the bird garden. So you gotta have water to bring the birds in. So I use sumac to soften up that back around the pond area. This just has a nice, pretty, soft leaf. The one negative, just I have to do a little bit of maintenance every once in a while because it wants to run and sucker up. It spreads by rhizomes, so the roots kind of go and pop up over here. So if it pops up where I want it, go for it. Just no water, no nothing, does it by itself. If it's in the wrong place, shovel to the head, pops it out of the ground, and just I thin it that way. Okay. A couple sages. Let's go into some of the more sexy things. We mentioned this one. These two are actually related. This is more normal. This is Gaillardia. This is more of the Arizona sunset kind of thing. The reds, we're trying to get more of these. This is one we often put into hydroseed for scarce construction, say a new septic field or road cut going through. We'll reseed with this, because animals don't eat it. It takes pretty easily and it spreads very easily. I love my Gaillardias echinacea. Did I bring one of those? Right here. This is my bird gardener. I have a lot of these because they form a seed head, and the birds, the little tiny sparrows and stuff, will come in midwinter, and it's a food source for me. And so I tend to collect the birds that way. Sedum. They love my autumn joy sedum. That's another one. If you're into bird gardening, you want natives. Autumn joy is that taller sedum. Sedums they're kind of like a cactus without spines, without needles. And so they're very, very drought hardy. But the sparrows will come in because it's a food source in March and April when nothing else is really up. They'll come in and nibble on the pads. And then once their native grasses are up and the insects are out, then they'll kind of migrate over to other stuff. It's a good choice. Echinacea, I think this is powwow berry. Yep, powwow wild berry. Usually it comes in reds, yellows. We're trying to get more pinks, reds, choices. This gets, in fact, these actually make good companions because this is a taller version. This gets up about 3 feet. This stays about 2 feet. And I'll usually put coreopsis or something smaller. They're all companion plants, natives, reseed, good wildflowers for here. Okay. What else we got? Oh, who doesn't love hummingbirds? Is there anyone in the crowd? No, everyone loves hummingbirds. They cannot resist sage. This is autumn sage or salvia greggii. Anytime you hear the word sage or salvia, you know you got a winner. So we're trying to grow more varieties because they're just so hardy. It usually only came in red. Now we've got it pink, white, tangerines, lavenders. We're trying to find more varieties all the time because it's a great little plant for here. This gets up, about knee-high again, about 3 feet and ball-shaped, just like that. You can count on it to bloom from April through September. It'll tend to bloom. It's a long bloom cycle, and then it will lose its foliage. So it just kind of goes deciduous. You won't even see it in the yard. It'll just be kind of twigs there. I'll go through and when I'm pruning in the winter, whack it back, not all the way to the ground, just give it a strong haircut so it keeps its form and its shape. I find this gardener likes this one, a little more uniform. Otherwise it gets a wild hair, it just kind of gets lopsided, and it grows oddball shaped. I like the shape a little bit more. That's just how I do it. If you like more natural, just let it go. Let it go.
Animals?
Animals don't eat this, except birds. Now you get a question? This would grow great in Tucson, almost better in Tucson. Are you guys from Tucson?
Yep.
What are you doing up here?
Just curious what you're growing up.
Oh, well, welcome from Tucson. Give him a round. There we are. Now that's how we know hardcore gardener. We actually have folks, I'm buying a house out in the area. Which house should I buy? I actually get this question several times a year. Should I have this house or this house? Because I want to grow the best plants. What's your opinion? You're asking me the opinion on which house I should buy. She could be looking at the bathroom or the kitchen or something. Gardeners are looking at the gardens. So it's fun. Or they'll just tour in, and I actually stop into garden centers, but that's my business. Lisa and I just booked a trip. Not next week, the week after. We're going to Portland, Oregon. And the largest trade show for our industry is in Portland, Oregon, in the Northwest, the end of August, basically. So we're going to tour 1,000-acre farms and just go look for things like this. We get to do that for a week. It is so much fun. If you're a gardener, you'd be giddy all over it. But Sal, yeah, what else?
Do those plants attract a particular type of an insect? Because yesterday I went out and sprayed. It's a white, waxy.
Good. Okay. So spittlebug.
Spittlebug?
I said spittlebug. Yeah, bug. Anyway, there's a white gooey mass. Looks like a loogie, basically. Looks like someone drooled. Like when your dog has been working out real hard and drooled all over the plant. It looks like that. Spittlebug is out right now. Just started. They do tend to like salvias. They like Virginia creeper, grapes. They'll be on certain things, but look for that. Underneath all that white foamy mass, you'll find a little tiny tan bug, and he's pierced the stem, sucking the life out of the plant, and then causing this foam as a protective coating over the plant, so the birds and grasshoppers and praying mantis and things don't eat them. It's a protection. If left unchecked, your plants will stop blooming, can lose some form. It won't typically kill them, it'll just stress them out. I would spray them. And anything kills a spittle bug. So you can Google that when you get a chance. Spittle bug, it'll pop right up and you go, oh yeah, that's what it is. But several customers are coming in with spittle bug right now. So, home harvest is, we put together a spray down. It's organic, safe for the birds, especially for things where hummingbirds are feeding on plants kind of stuff, or anytime your dogs are nibbling on stuff, use organics. That home harvest is safe up to the day of harvest, just a fancy oil that takes them out, also has a repelling action. It's neem oil. For you hardcore organic folks, N-E-E-M, neem oil. It's just a real high-grade neem oil we put in that bottle. Okay. All right, black-eyed Susan, classic perennial plant. This will grow in Tucson. Actually, a lot of these will grow in Tucson, whereas the Phoenix, you all are just mild enough, you can grow more things than Phoenix can. A lot of our Scottsdale folks, they want to take home a spruce, some of these perennials, and they can't even remotely. I mean, they're living 10 miles from the sun. You can't grow any of this stuff on the lunar surface, on the sun. Yeah, let's go to more tree kind of stuff. It'll be okay. This is the centennial tree. A couple of years ago, we celebrated our 100-year anniversary as a town, and so this one we were planting all around town. There are some magnificent specimens. This is deodar cedar. Has a long central leader with great big swooping branches that come down. This is a very large tree. I know it looks cute now, you can touch it, you just want to hug it, but this thing turns into a beast. So 50 foot tall, 25 foot wide, swooping branches. Big mistake people make with this, they plant it right next to the house, next to the driveway, because they want to screen someone out. I want to screen, that neighbor built that shed, I want him gone. They put it right there, and 5 years later, they're having to cut it down. And so watch where you plant this particular one. It can get quite large. Okay, plant it out in the corners. This is for big lots, big yards, big properties. This one would be a better choice. This is another native. This is Arizona cypress. It does grow wild in the Baghdad, Skull Valley areas. It just grows. A lot of the junipers that you see, they're not junipers. They're Arizona cypress. The only way I can really tell is the junipers put on a little tiny berry, and the cypress put on a little tiny cone. Looks like a big sized berry. That's how I really tell the difference. But figure 20 foot, 25 foot tall, by 12 foot wide. We use these often as a screen. Dust control, noise abatement, that kind of stuff. Or just, I don't want to see you anymore. I want to be in my hot tub however I want, and I want to feel private. This guy would do it. I know it looks innocent, but again, natives don't fill in until they're in the ground. So your cypress especially, they need to be in the ground for about 2 years. They're rooting, and all of a sudden about the second season you go, wow, where did this plant come from? It tripled in size, just like that. So I put this in the fast growing segment. You can figure a foot a year or more on this particular guy, and in all directions, top, sides, every direction. While we're on that evergreen piece, this one grows wild throughout. Anyone know what kind of pine that is? Pinyon pine, yeah, very good. This is the single leaf pinyon. It's related to our native pinyon, only this one gets the nuts a little faster. So this one will have nuts. Usually pine trees need to be about 15 to 20 years old before they'll start forming nuts. This one in particular, this is the one they grow to produce pine nuts. And pinyon pine nuts, this is the one that they're growing it off of. Produces nuts in about 10 years and has a more buttery flavor to it. Just a better tasting nut. And it's equally as hardy. And I find it doesn't tend to get the scale on it as easily as our native one does. So we tend to skew people this way because it's a better tree, basically, better pine tree, pinyon pine tree than others. Again, once you get this established, you can cut this thing off with all care and let it go. If you want to keep it looking good, or you want to force a little more growth on it, get more of these candle growth, get longer candle growth, fertilize it a couple times a year, water it a couple times a month, and it will flush out and be almost tropical looking when it gets done. Okay? Yeah?
Scale what's been killing, like I've seen a lot of dead pinion pine.
Yes, scale, pinyon pine scale. Pinyon pine scale is a problem. You guys don't mind plants, you mind getting bushwhacked. Not at all. Pinyon pine scale. There is a scale, a little tiny bug. Tiny, tiny bug. If you have scale in the yard, you should look at the needles. If you see a little dot on the needle, that is a scale, it's an insect, and it is literally sucking that needle dry. And if left unchecked, it will absolutely kill the tree within just a few seasons. If your tree is thin and wispy, a truly healthy pinyon pine should be lush and full and not look like a native. It should be lush and full, not thin and wispy. It probably has scale. So what to do, I didn't bring that solution, but down the store we actually created a product called Plant Protector. It's a systemic. You pour at the base of the tree, the plant will absorb it through the cambium layer and then taint the needles. So when they pierce that needle and suck the juice out, it'll kill it. One application goes for a year. If you have pinyon pine, if you're in that chaparral zone, you should be checking that because entire neighborhoods have been wiped out. Not one pine left alive. Okay. With that also being said, ponderosa pine, just while we're on native problems, ponderosa pine, if you look at the bark, and you see a pin needle, looks like someone took a pin and poked a hole inside the bark. That is bark beetle. That is a problem. You should be worried. There's a little tiny black beetle. He's cute as can be. He's only like that big, maybe an 1/8 inch, not even that. Burrows into the bark. You've seen that. It's either an entrance or an exit tunnel is what that is. And so you've got activity underneath that bark. They get into the cambium layer, that live tissue area underneath the bark. They literally will start eating that, and they'll finally girdle the tree. They'll eat it all the way around until it'll stay alive until they eat the entire thing. And then sometime in June or just all at once, it'll go from green to I have no foliage in like a week, just like that. It'll turn instantly. And so you got to get on this. The same product, Plant Protector, solves that. And we can show you more on that. Again, that variety, single leaf, has less prone. This one is in bloom. Dewey, Prescott Valley, over the ridge here towards Contreras Road, Skull Valley, Kirkland, Yarnell. This is a wild tree called desert willow. It's just as famous for that flower. And you get it, it's got a very extensive root structure. It's about 20 foot tall or so. Maybe that's a little optimal. Teens to 20 foot tall. It has typically multi-stems, is how it's usually growing. How natural actually grow like this, but it's tough. You get this established, never have to water it again. No maintenance, no trimming, you can just let it go. This particular variety puts on a bean. When it gets done, the wild variety, when it gets done blooming, you put a little bean pod on there. They're quite pretty actually. But if you pick that bean off, it'll set a whole new set of blossoms again. So I've had mine where, especially if I know I've got a wedding or a party or something, I'll go out about 2 weeks before, pick all the beans off, fertilize it. It'll be in full bloom for everyone to enjoy right after that. So you keep it, you can force it to keep blooming. This particular variety called Timeless Beauty, they've actually bred the bean out of it. So this one is less prone to set that bean after it gets bloomed, after it blooms. So it sets more flowers by itself without any care. So Timeless Beauty, if I was going to plant a native desert willow, I'd kind of go this direction, just because then you don't have to prune anything. It would grow in Tucson easily. So would this one. Yeah. This is Chitalpa. They've actually grafted a catalpa onto a desert willow rootstock. You come up with this plant. And what it does, you notice the flower is very, very similar. Doesn't get a bean, has a little bit bigger flower, a little showier, but equally as hardy as your desert willow. So we use a lot of these out in the exposed area. You see where a lot of wind is coming. Prescott Valley probably made these famous. It can actually be grown into a tree form, actually a physical small tree, or multi-stem. but it just does this. The flower's not quite as bright, but they're bigger, and they just keep blooming and blooming and blooming and blooming. It just blooms. Mine in my backyard grew to about, how tall is that thing? Maybe 20, no more than 22, 23 feet, small 20s. Is where it naturally seems to top out. I have a fully mature, it's got a trunk like this, it's fully mature tree. And it's in full bloom right now. It's been in bloom since May. So it seems to go through waves of blooms. Okay, that's all these. The last cart, then we'll take questions. I went, what are some plants that are tough, that I like, that add color, that aren't maybe natives, but are equally as hardy? So I've got this. This is crepe myrtle. I have this planted in my backyard because I want it to look good all the time, no maintenance, but still stay on the same water cycle. Crepe myrtle fits this very well. And no other shrub has a flower like crepe myrtle in the summer. Summer through fall, there's such bright colors, from purples to reds to whites, they're all vibrant. And so this plant has adapted very, very well for me.
Do you have the crepe myrtle trees?
Trees can, I don't know how, I've got the shrub, it seems to be a little hardier than the trees. Trees, I don't know if I would put them directly into a native landscape. I'd put them in that moderate water zone.
Okay.
Like where to keep that. This one, can't, that's crepe myrtle.
How tall?
Oh, that one gets, mine's been in the wild. I abuse mine. Mine's about 4 feet tall. I totally abuse it. I mean, and it's in bloom. If I actually cared for it, it'd probably grow maybe head high, something like that. If you actually wanted it to. This is a smoke bush. This one, Yavapai College made famous. They really brought it back online. This one gets up 10 to 15 foot tall if you let it go. It's got the same purple foliage that purple leaf plum does, but I think this one's a prettier plant. I think it's a hardier plant too. Less disease, less bug issues. So the purple leaf plums I would define as native or drought hardy, but it gets a fungus, it gets a shot hole kind of thing, a problem. This one doesn't. In the summer, here about now, we'll start to get these flowers that float above that look like the tree is on fire, like it's smoking. Thus the name, smoke bush. And so that's a great little plant. It comes in lime green, traditional green, or this pretty purple. So we got all three colors. This one does not look tropical. It looks tropical. It doesn't look like a native. That's why I like it. This is Nandina. These are plants. You would not expect this to be this tough, but I think it's because it's got a waxy leaf, real thick, waxy leaf. You just feel it. It feels leathery. And then it coats it in wax. I think that's why it makes it so tough. But Nandinas, if you're, especially from California, I want an evergreen, I want it to bloom. Well, this could fit that very, very well. And you don't have to be a slave to water and maintenance. And it just, once you get it rooted, it just takes on this kind of, it comes in several flavors. From real ground covers to knee high to hip high to overhead high. This is the head high variety, big one. Nandina or heavenly bamboo. And then lastly, don't let me forget, I'm going to tell you what established means. I keep saying once it's established, I'm going to tell you what that is right after this. Okay? This is called false spirea or coreopteris. Just write down false spirea, it's easier, because then you don't have to have me spell coreopteris, which I can't. This one gets, gosh, what is it, about hip high or so, maybe 3 feet, and a ball, just a solid, big blue ball. It's in full color right now in my backyard. If you're into bee gardens or you're into vegetables and that kind of stuff, this is a good pollinator. It tends to attract the bees. If you want to have honeybees in your yard, this is a super one to attract them in. I don't know if I'd put this right next to the patio where I'm entertaining with grandkids, because it has bees. But mine's out in the back of the yard, just back there. I like bees and birds, obviously. So I plant that one out there. And this one, again, I water it once every 10 days. Full color. Easy care. I do tend it loses its leaves. In the winter it is deciduous. It'll lose its foliage. It's got a nice pretty kind of aspen gold color as it loses its leaves. And then I'll go through midwinter and I'll just give it a haircut. Shape it. I find it looks a little better when it keeps its form. Otherwise it gets a wild hair coming up every once in a while. Animals do not eat this whatsoever. Nope, do not eat it. Established. What is established? So you take a native plant. Let's say a hardcore native. This is as hardcore as you can get. Sumacs, they just grow wild. Okay? So we've grown this pretty plant, which you're attracted to this. It's going to be a beautiful fall color here in a month. I like it. I want more of it. But it's got a little tiny root ball. It takes 2 years before the roots are in the surrounding soil enough to where it's truly established. Okay? That's a mistake a lot of folks make. I plant this in June. It's hot, it's dry, it's windy. It's a native. It should go on its own now. I'm going on that 3-week cruise through the Panamas. And it come back and it's dead. It's because the roots are not in the surrounding soil yet. You haven't encouraged it to root out fully. The other one, that a big mistake people make, they put this in the ground and they water it every day like the rest of their other non-native stuff, and they wonder why it's suffering. It's yellowing, it's dropping leaves, it's got burnt tips. It looks like it's drying out. But really what's happening is it's too much moisture. The roots are actually rotting off. Now there's not enough root mass to keep the entire surface alive, so it starts self-pruning itself back. Hopefully where it can stabilize and come out of this shock pattern. Don't put your natives on that same irrigation cycle as everything else. You start to adjust. So here I'd water this no more than twice a week. Really, probably this would do better once a week. Even just this size root ball once a week. So especially if you're in a heavy clay soil, probably very much the case, okay? So if you're going to kill this, it'll be from overwater. Again, like I said when we started, try to encourage deep roots, not shallow, wide roots. That'll help you a lot, especially as we go into drought season. You know, in the mountains, we either have too much rain, where bridges are being washed out, or we've got no rain. We're a place of extremes. So you need to train your plants to get through those gaps when it's dry. You do that, you'll have a happier plant. One last thing, and then I'll take questions. I showed one plant with a tag. The insider secret. A sale starts on Monday. No one knows about it but you guys. We're preparing for it right now. It's our end of the season sale. Lisa and I are going to fly up to Portland and buy all the fall Christmas trees, fall color, maples, and all the spring plants. We're going to walk through and hand tag. We hand select all the bigger trees. We look at the crops and we'll look at who the growers are for certain things. So we're prepping. I need room. All this stuff has got to get out of here. At least the stuff we're not going to winter over. Take it home and plant it in your yard. I don't want it because I got more stuff coming. If you see a thing with a tag on it, we've taken the price, like this is usually like 30 bucks, it's now $12. Okay? If you know that's coming up, you can cherry pick off the best stuff. There is some really good stuff at like even below wholesale, what I can buy it for. Cherry pick off, take advantage. I'm not pushing you, but it won't be here in a week because the advertising starts hitting Valpak on Monday, radio starts on Friday, and it will be teeming hordes of people crawling the place next weekend. So just, my friends, I want to have them have first dibs.
So can we buy today?
You can buy it today if it's tagged, and we're still tagging, but they're putting signs up now. We're preparing for Monday, because Monday is going to hit and just be standing room, and people will be waiting to get in. So, but you all can do it now. And it won't be, I don't have everything tagged every day. I do a little bit, because my head hurts. What should I price this at? I don't know. What's it worth? What people pay? Please take it. So I do a little bit every day. That's what I do. And I personally take it during tagging things. It's called the Monster Monsoon Sale. You'll hear it. We have a lot of advertising going out, so look for that. Okay. Now, questions. I think we're done with native plants. I'll get you the handouts here shortly, but questions.
You passed around the sign sheet.
Yes.
If we're already on your email list,
Yes.
we'll sign it anyway.
You should, because I won't send it. There's 9,000 of you on the master list. I'm only going to send it to 30 of you. Not everyone, just to you all. So it'll probably be a personal email right from me to you. It won't be from the generic info@watersgardencenter.com. It'll probably be from Ken Lane. to use. So sign that, so no. Okay, yes?
You said there were 3 characteristics of natives. You said small leaves and then you stopped.
Oh, I'm sorry, then I got sidetracked. Small leaves,
Yeah.
coated leaves, that is two-toned leaves, so that'll be another indication, and then waxy leaves. That is, it's coated either usually in a waxy coating. And if you look at these, either they're small, or they'll be a fuzzy leaf, or they'll be coated in wax, kind of a waxy feel to it. Okay. Another indication could be blue or silver. Blue or silver, a lot of the natives they're not green, they're blue or silver. That's a secretion that the plant oozes over the foliage. You can actually wipe it off. Blue spruce is not really blue. It's a green spruce. It has a secretion, that's why it's so tough. You can actually wipe that off with your thumb. You actually wipe that, just rub it right off. That's what makes it so hardy. So another indication would be not green. Okay? Yeah, in the back.
I have a mimosa, and I need to move it because it's close to other stuff.
Yeah.
It's been in the ground a year.
Okay.
That's safe to do. And how close can I move it to the house? And if we got the beans and expect to bloom on that, like on that.
Yeah, so good question. So to reiterate from over here, mimosa, when can I move it? And can I start the seeds?
And how close can I get to the house? What are the roots like?
How close can I get to the house? Got it. So, mimosa, or silk tassel tree, it's the one with the pink flowers all over the top of it. I actually plant that below my deck. So when I'm sipping tea in the morning, I can look at my glorious plants in bloom from up above. So, great little plant for that. It only gets maybe teens, 20 foot, no more than 20 foot tall. 15 to 20, where it tops out at, kind of an umbrella shape. Okay? So maybe it'll get 15 to 20 foot wide, 15 to 20 foot tall. So with that, don't get it closer than 10 feet to the house, because it's going to grow unless you want to trim it off of the house and have it look butchered. So keep it about 10 feet away from the house. The roots are fairly deep. That's why it's so drought hardy, because the leaves are very small, so it's a drought hardy plant. When to transplant, now is not the time. Wait till it goes dormant. Wait till it loses its leaves. You might be able to transplant now because it's only a year old, but it will go into definite stress. Whereas after it's done, after it's dormant, you can move it because it's not exposed. It doesn't have any leaves on it. So you can move it and just put it where you want. It'll take almost 100%. Right now, I wouldn't put odds on it living. It might live, but it might not. I wouldn't want to risk it. If you can wait a month or two, we're so close to fall. By the end of October, it's dormant. You could go ahead and move it without risk.
Okay, can I pick those beans and expect more blooms?
Can I pick the beans and expect more blooms? Yes, it will bloom more if you pick the beans. Yes. Okay? Yes, in the back.
So the century plant, when it falls over and you want to put those seeds someplace else, bury the seeds, or how do you do that?
I don't know. We always we do it by pups. We'll actually transplant the pups, is how we do them in the nursery. We don't actually start seed. Mainly because we want an exact plant, we want a clone of the mother plant. So all those are the exact DNA. The pups coming up are exactly like their mother. And so we want to do those. A seed, I don't know how that comes up. I'd have to look in nature. Probably just barely bury it, because in nature, they're just going to fall on the ground, and rain's going to come and rough up the soil, and it's going to take off. So plus, I don't know how long it takes a seed to germinate. It might take years for the stars align, for everything to be just right for it to take. So usually it's a pups. You'll take off that dead center, and then you'll find a dozen little tiny agave plants all around that mother plant.